Ever feel like something's just off in your life? Like you're doing all the right things, but still feel empty at the end of each day? What if the gap between your daily actions and what truly matters to you is what's draining your energy? Hey friends, welcome back. Today we're talking about something I wish someone had told me years ago: how to recognize when your life is out of alignment with your values and what you can do about it. I'm Diego, Diego, and after spending years chasing someone else's definition of success, I discovered that missing piece that transformed my daily experience from exhaustion to fulfillment. In this video, I'm going to share a framework that's helped me align my life with what truly matters. And if you're tired of feeling drained despite doing everything right, this values audit process will give you the clarity that you've been searching for. If we go back 15 years, I remember being on vacation in Hawaii. It was my Thai hour. I remember sitting in the grass on the beach in front of the Pacific, talking to my wife, yet thinking about work. And I knew right then this wasn't sustainable. I thought, where's my career going? Where's my life going? There was a divergence. I could see my career path going one way, and I didn't necessarily want my life to go on that same path. Not for the same company, not working for the same person, not doing the same type of work. Not that any of it was bad. It just wasn't who I was and who I was becoming. From the outside, though, if you would have observed my life at that point, looked at what my job was and my salary and my bank account, hey, I was in Hawaii, you would say everything looked perfect. The career, the income, all of it that I thought would make me happy just wasn't, because inside I felt hollow. And I talked to my wife that night on the beach after a few Mai Tais, and I was like, I don't like this. I don't know where it's going. I don't wake up with enthusiasm to go to work. I could care less about the company that I worked for. I just was doing work that I didn't deem important. And worst of all, this satisfaction would sometimes blend or bleed over into my personal life. I would snap at people that I cared about over tiny things. And I was more than likely a cranky SOB sometimes, because it was like coming home from having a pebble in your shoe all day. I'm over it. So I would separate myself and just not be the best husband or new dad that I could be. And this pattern continued for years, believe it or not, like many of you may know or identify with. And then I started to have an awakening. I wish I could say what triggered it, but I started to explore the question: are you actually enjoying life right now? That question hit me like a ton of bricks, because I wasn't. I realized I'd been chasing goals without ever stopping to ask if they mattered to me. I was living somebody else's definition of success. I was working a job based upon what it would bring me in terms of numbers in a bank account and comfort in terms of financial security, not in terms of what it would bring me as a person, how would it align with who I am and who I want to be. And I realized somewhere along the way, I started on this journey and I just kept walking without ever looking up at where I was going and questioning, do I even want to keep walking here? Or saying, should I even be walking in the first place? It was just robot, head down, walk. And we all get caught up in this. That moment started me on a journey that really still continues today, because while I've solved the big problems, I no longer work for anybody. I'm self-employed. I still always run things through this filter of, is this increasing the value of my life? If I'm saying yes to it, does it resonate with who I am and the values that I have? That was the key, figuring out what actually mattered to me, my core values, and how to build a life around them instead of building a life around somebody else's values or their expectations. This is where we enter the cost of misalignment. This is the problem. Many of you are stuck in the problem. I was part of the problem. Living out of alignment with your values costs you more than the occasional unhappiness. It's like driving with your e-brake on. You can still move forward, but you're damaging your engine, you're wasting fuel, and you're just slowing yourself down needlessly. You're adding drag. When your actions don't truly matter to you, your energy drains. I'm spending energy doing something that doesn't bring me emotional fulfillment. Do anything you hate doing and see if you want to sign up to do more of it. We don't. Find something there's got to be something. Cleaning, some type of working out. It's like me playing golf. You put me on a golf course, I'm going to hate it by hole number 2, and it's going to be awful. It's not relaxing. I'm going to leave the course angrier than when I showed up. So when your actions don't match up to what matters to you, you get that drain of energy. And research in the field of positive psychology shows that this value action gap is one of the biggest predictors of burnout in diminished well-being, meaning you're not going to end up in a very good place. According to Dr. Martin Siegelman's work on authentic happiness, people who live in alignment with their personal values report 40% higher life satisfaction scores. Considering 70% of people don't like their career, if you can make your life 40% better, that's pretty good. Imagine everything. I'd take 40% more in my bank account, 40% bigger of a house, 40% more business next month, 40% more YouTube subscribers. Hey, you can help with that. 40% is a lot. So you might be experiencing this misalignment if you feel tired even after sleeping well. Small problems feel overwhelming. You get sick more often. You find yourself snapping at loved ones. You need more time to recover than ever before. You feel jealous of what others seem to have in their lives. You just can't find a way to generate your own spark. But the biggest cost isn't even today's exhaustion. These are all okay because it's today. I can move on. It's waking up years from now after hundreds of todays had occurred and realizing you spent one of the most precious things in your life, time, not doing what you really wanted. So let me ask you something important. And I want you to really think about this for a moment. What part of your day are you actually looking forward to? Not what you're supposed to look forward to, but what actually brings you energy. If you struggled to answer that quickly, you're not alone. Think about that answer. Does that answer come from a point where you spend the majority of your day? Meaning, is what excites you come from that block of time in the middle of the day that takes up most of your day? Most of us call that working. If it's not in there, you got to start thinking about that block and how you're utilizing it in terms of your alignment between what you do to get paid and who you are as a person, and see if you can merge those together. That's what we're talking about. And that's the good news. You can change. And you have this built-in compass for making better choices. Your values, the things that truly matter to you, can guide both the big decisions and the small daily choices. Values aren't only what you think you should care about. They actually are the things that light you up inside, and they're different for everyone. Some people value adventure and trying new things. Others value deep connections with a few important people close by. That's me. I want to live my life close to my 3 daughters, my wife, and my dog. And if I can't structure my life where they're close by, it's not for me. Some value creating is about beautiful things, while others is about solving problems. Some it's making art. Sometimes it's about just running numbers and whatever it is that lights you up inside. There's no right or wrong here. The only wrong is not knowing what you want and letting others decide what you should want and then going down that path. Oh, son, how are you? You want to be a doctor. Congratulations. Have a fun life. Dad, I don't want to be a doctor. Oh, yes, you do. No, I don't. Well, congratulations. You're going to become one. And if you don't do it, you let them down. And that feels like crap. So there's that whole issue of working that out. When I finally sat down and identified my core values, it was creativity, connection. Then those decisions became much clearer. They were the filter that everything passed through. If I can't work from home around the people that matter to me, well, I'm not saying yes to it. If I can't homeschool my kids while I do this thing, I'm not saying yes to it. Knowing that allowed me to check each choice, each commitment, everything I did, and how I allocated my time against what mattered to me. Again, it's the filter. Before this realization, I'd say yes to everything, but I'd feel drained afterwards because it wasn't really what I wanted to do. I felt like I was doing what I should do instead of what I wanted. And that's a key realization as you get older. When you really get comfortable in who you are, you do things you want to do. You don't do things you should do. I don't mean like, hey, you should practice safe sex. You should abstain from, getting drunk all the time. You should exercise. Like, yeah, those are fundamental things. All right. Like, do that stuff. But it's like, oh, I should go to that party because they expect me to be there. When you're comfortable with who you are, you do what you want to do. There is no more should in terms of society's expectations. Values get us to this place. They provide the checklist, the filter for what we say yes to, what we say no to, what paths we take, what paths we reject. And we need it now more than ever because we are bombarded with information. Studies show that we face over 35,000 different decisions every single day. So you better have a clear idea of what you like and what you don't like to reduce mental fatigue and improve your choice quality. So now let's get to how do we figure out our values if we don't know. This is what I call the values audit. And I'm going to walk you through this simple process to discover your values and how you can use it to start living a life that aligns more with them. Step 1, discover your values. Set aside 30 minutes when you won't be interrupted and grab a piece of paper to answer these questions. When have you felt the most alive and happy? What were you doing and with who? What makes you lose track of time because you enjoyed it so much? What would you do with your time if money was no object? What topics make you talk with your hands because you get so excited? I do a lot of hand talking, so you can tell I'm excited about this stuff. I'm not faking it. Who do you admire and what qualities do you admire about them? Look at your answers and circle words that showed up more than once. Notice patterns. These are clues to your core values. Try to narrow this down to 3 to 5 things. Common ones include freedom, connection, creativity, growth, service, adventure, security, honesty, peace, achievement. But use your own words. These are just ideas. Then move on to step 2. Check your current alignment. For each main area of your life, work, relationships, free time, home, ask, does this area let me live by my values? Where is the gap between what I value and what I'm doing? What small changes would bring this area more in line with my values? For example, if you value creativity, but your job gives you 0 chance to create, that's a misalignment. If you value connection, but you spend all of your free time scrolling on your phone, that's a gap to fix. We want to try and fix the misalignment and close the gaps. Shift where we can. Sometimes it's very small, simple changes. Step 3, plan your realignments. Start small. Pick one area with a gap and think of one tiny step to bring it more in line with your values. For example, if you value growth but aren't learning anything new, you might set aside 15 minutes each day to read or listen to a podcast. If you value peace but your schedule is packed, you might block off one evening a week as no plans time. The key is to start small so it feels easy. Big jumps are hard to do. Big jumps are hard to stick with. Complex changes are hard to stick with. Keep it small, keep it simple. You can always build from there. Tiny habits is what we're trying to build. And tiny habits are what makes long-term change, give us immediate rewards, and we're much more likely to stick to small changes than large changes. So start with small exercises that can eventually lead to sustainable long-term change. I'll give you an example of how I looked at this over the past few years. I realized that creativity was one of my core values. That's why I do podcasting. That's why I write a newsletter, Seeding Thoughts, which you can subscribe to below. That's why I make YouTube videos. I like sharing my experience with the world, and I like creating things. So those are some values that you see right here on YouTube. But when I looked at my day in the past, I saw it was packed with meetings and emails. It was a lot of get this done, get this done. There was no time for creating. I was just trying to stay on the treadmill. I would bounce from task to task, and I'd be so tired at the end of the day that when I had time to do creative things, it was like, I don't want to. My brain's fried. There's no bandwidth left. So my first small step was blocking out an hour in the morning to do what I call creative. It lives on my calendar. It could be me watching videos about making videos. It could be me brainstorming about products. It could be me doing creative things in terms of writing. It's my free time to just explore that. And I do it first thing in the morning, because then from that point on, I know right away I've done something that day that matters to me. No matter what happens later in the day, I had that hour, we can't take it back, and I chose what I was going to do with that hour. And what I chose was something that really was important. This was huge for me. It changed how I felt. It gave me energy. It gave me momentum. That creativity bled into other parts of work. There was literally no downside. I was taking time that I was otherwise wasting, quasi checking emails and stuff very early in the morning, stuff that could easily go at the end of the day. And I replaced it with something that just really mattered to me. You might look at what I'm doing and say, there's no value there. How is that productive? What's the return on investment? That's not what it's all about. For me, the return on investment each day and over the long term is massive. But I can't measure that return on investment in dollars or views or clicks. It's just me being more energized, happier, more of my true self, which helps everybody around me and everything that I end up doing thereafter. So this is powerful. And what I learned was you don't have to completely overhaul your life overnight. Small segments, small changes between your values and your daily choices create momentum that leads to bigger changes. Some people might say, that sounds great. It's a little hard. Not everybody can do that, spend that hour doing creative. I get it. You might say, Diego, I have bills to pay. I have responsibilities. I just can't walk away from this stuff. I get it. I hear it all the time. And no one's saying, throw it all away. All I'm saying is you can implement small changes, which eventually become big changes. I get it. I've been there. I'm still figuring this out too. If you set out to achieve the perfect life with 100% work-life values balance, then you'll always be unhappy. Forget about perfect alignment. It doesn't exist for anyone, and I don't think I'll ever have it. I don't expect to ever have it. I did once look for it, and I gave that journey up long ago. What matters now is moving in the right direction, being 1% better each day or each week, and doing something. Not letting perfect be the enemy of good. Something is better than nothing. And too many people in so many parts of life go after perfect. And in the process, they make it so hard, so complex that they fail miserably and end up at the exact same spot or even go backwards. Shoot for good enough, because good enough is a great place to be. Where to from here? I'll tell you. Your values will guide you if you listen. I'm still learning to listen to mine every day. I don't want to say this is easy, but you start to train your brain to think this way. And you start to automatically filter choices to be in line with your values. The first, part of the time, you're forcing yourself to do it, but eventually it becomes ingrained in you. Just like if you don't smoke and somebody's like, hey, you want a cigarette? When you're 16 and there's peer pressure, you had to think, I don't know, do I want it? Do I not want it? If I say I don't want it, what do they think about me? Do I make up some excuse about I'm allergic to tobacco? All that. Once you just get comfortable, it's like, no, I don't smoke. I don't want the cigarette. Once you start to know your values, you just know this doesn't align. It's a no. But I'm going to leave you with this question. What if the exhaustion you're feeling isn't because you're doing too much, but because you're doing too much of the wrong thing? I want you to do 3 things, just 3, right after you finish this video. 1, write down one time you felt completely alive and energized. 2, identify what specific values were present in that moment. 3, choose one tiny way to bring that value into your life tomorrow. That's it. Just one value, one small action. Don't overthink it or try to revolutionize your entire life overnight. Start with something so simple you can't say no to it. Even 5 minutes or 30 seconds of doing something that you wouldn't do on a normal basis, that counts. For example, if you discovered that creativity matters to you, tomorrow morning, spend a few minutes free writing or sketching. If connection matters to you, have coffee with someone that's important. Give somebody who you've been meaning to call a phone call. Stay off your phone. Get off YouTube. Make the connection if it's important. I'd love to hear what you discovered and what small steps you're taking. Share it in the comments below. Your insights might be exactly what someone else needs to hear, so share your stories. Sometimes seeing somebody else's value helps us recognize what's missing. Hey, it matters, and it also matters for the algorithm, so hit like, leave a comment. And if you found this helpful, please consider subscribing for more content about me on my journey, and so I can help you on your journey. And if you know someone who might need to hear this message, please share it. Until next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.